She's so cute. It is 3 a.m. and I need to get back to bed. I fell asleep on the couch after dinner and woke up. What did I do? Found the energy to get showered, and now I'm here. I hope this will be a quick one. I think it might be, but something in your eyes, tell me who I am. I can feel Ironically, okay, well, it's not that song. That song is like lifting my mood recently, but I've been feeling very existential about my career, about my position in life, and society. Now, when I say society, obviously I don't mean like high class society. Although it does include that, I think I'm thinking more like socially. Yeah, like social structures of class and society. Although society, I think in the upper class is whatever, used to like describe something like different. High society, I guess. But I don't just mean high society. Not that I am important or relevant to high society. Am I? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, not right now. Not that I know of. I guess. Who even defines? Let's start there. Who even defines what is high society, right? There's no one person that authority is there. It's there. There's always a bigger fish and a bigger in the ocean, or a stronger fish, or a more intelligent one. And people are always competing with each other. For resources, access to resources, and control over them, I guess. Yeah, I didn't realize I was gonna go that deep that quickly. 3 minutes into this video and I'm already being myself. A lot of people underestimate what Pride and Prejudice really is about, and I think that's why I love the 1995 version so much. I'm rewatching it again, or rather, I started rewatching it a while ago and then I paused. I think I stopped at the end of episode 3 after the lake scene. Okay, and also as someone who I'm whatever. I still can't. Will the shades of Pemberley be thus polluted? The 2005 version. As someone who has like friends and people telling me about it and that I should watch it and it's good, and I tried, okay? I watched some scenes from it, and don't get me wrong, the acting is really good. Of course, Keira Knightley and is his name Matthew McFadden? They have chemistry and they're a good pairing and they're both brilliant actors. I'm not satisfied with the script. Like, how can you go from the 1995 BBC version? Phoebe's judging me. She's saying, "Why are you not going to bed yet?" I will soon, my love. I will. come away from the curtains. Come away from the window. What is it that Wickham says to Lydia? Gosh. But anyway, I watched a few scenes on YouTube, and I obviously watched the ending, which, I mean, spoilers, if you don't want spoilers, you don't have to keep watching. Well, I'll try and talk about it in a way that is just relevant to me as an actor, artist. But like, I did not like how they changed the ending. Yeah, I don't think in the book the father knows or is told, and it does not make sense in this, in my opinion. Ugh, it's so American. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but the way that it was, even if I feel like, okay, I feel like what is really canon to Jane Austen's work would be if the father discovers this naturally over time, what he does discover in the end. Because in my opinion, and I think this relates to social structures and social class and society, it's like, in my opinion, if he were to find that out, it really would cut him as a man, the patriarchal figure in Elizabeth's life. And for her to be like, it's almost as if you're trying to take the tablecloth out of, like, from the table while it's fully set. It's just like not how, I don't know, I just don't feel I was it's not what happens in the 1995 version either, okay? So I was just like, why did he do this? There are other choices that were made that I think are fascinating. And I mean, I get it with like the hand scene, but the lake scene, come on, guys. Anyone who has not how do you not understand the lake scene? That lake scene is infinitely, in my opinion, more, I don't know, like, the hand scene is nothing compared to the lake scene. This is controversial now for all the 2005 movie fans, but it's nothing in comparison to the lake scene, in my humble opinion. In my opinion. In any case, because I feel like the 1995 version it goes in, I think in my, like, I was talking to someone who watched the 2005 version earlier today, and I mentioned, like, there's a part where Lizzie finds out about what happened to Lydia, and then, like, Lydia going off with Wickham, and then he was like, who's Wickham? It was like, how can you watch this movie and not know the primary antagonist? Is that not covered in the movie? I suppose not as well. You know, maybe, or perhaps you were more distracted by the romance going on in the scenes and the shots, or you got bored and someone else put you up to watch this movie, which, like, fair enough. But, like, the primary antagonist of this movie, of this story, is so central to the plot and to the themes and to the entire premise of the movie. It's like, did the 2005 movie just not do a good enough job in establishing that conflict? I think so, you know, because I was watching the scenes that, like, I was watching the scenes and I, like, and that, and I just don't think, like, I don't know, I just don't think it's the same as the 1995 version. For example, like the proposal scene in the 1995 version, in my opinion, it's just infinitely more, it's meatier It's less about the like tension between the two, the sexual tension. It's more about like there is obviously there's an attraction, but it's like I hate you, you know? Like and Elizabeth in the 1995 version, like Jennifer L's version, is a lot more empowered in my opinion. Like Keira Knightley is stunning, and I think my problem is that there's like she already feels like an upper class woman in the film. Like I liked her more in Atonement. I really love Keira Knightley in Atonement. Like if we're talking about all my favorite, like I'm not a hater of Keira Knightley either. Like I actually love her work, you know, and I loved her in Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, she was definitely my favorite. Um Sorry, Orlando Bloom. But I loved Keira Knightley in Pirates of the Caribbean, and I saw she was doing Atonement, and I loved her in Atonement. She was wonderful in Atonement. Her and James McAvoy, like I prefer. I'm sorry, but I just like, I can't, I can't. I can't. Something about this movie sets me off. And so, like, yes, I appreciate the cinematography and the choices in the shots. Like, for example, that the reading room scene with Caroline and Elizabeth. I'm sorry, but yes, I like the way that it ended, and like I like them crossing each other behind Mr. Darcy. It was a beautiful shot, don't get me wrong, but Caroline Bingley in the 1995 version, so much stronger and wittier and sarcastic, and her admiration for Darcy is so clear, and she is exactly who I'd expect of that character. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but the 2005 version, like it felt very like Beverly Hills High School with British accents and clothing. Yeah. Was that a point of reference for the director? I don't know. Perhaps, perchance. But, like, yeah, one can never know, can she? In any case. The other one, like Alison Steadman. Sorry, my accent is flying all over the place right now. It's 3 a.m. and I really don't know why I'm making this video. But I do, intuitively somewhere. But logically and rationally, intellectually, she is confuzzled and confused. Anyway, Alison Steadman, so strong as Mrs. Bennet. Literally one of my favorite characters in the entire show. And also I recently saw the production where she played Elmire. Is that the right, is that her? In Tartuffe. She was so good as Elmire. Just saying. I love her. She's such a good actress. Underrated. Ugh, underrated. And her performance, her characterization, her choices of Mrs. Bennet. Like every time I rewatch that the film, well, those films, like, it is 5 episodes. Is it not? For some reason I thought it was 6, but anyway. Okay, even Wickham, perfect acting, like, and casting for that. And Mary, yeah, I mean, I did think it was interesting that in the 2005 version they cast Mary to be prettier, which is fine, but ugh, I don't know, I can't. Something about the whole film, like, it just felt, yeah, I don't know. off. Perchance, perhaps I am spoilt by the 1995 version. Ugh. I just keep hearing the soundtrack in my head now. Yeah. And every time I rewatch it, I learn something new, you know? And it's still like something, what is timeless about it is like, I relate, you know, like, I, I mean, I think in Chinese culture still, I mean, I guess, honestly, I think Westerners just have a better way of hiding it, but like, and also people are more, differentiated in their thoughts processes. Like people have a lot more different, I don't know, but that being said, okay, let me start that whole thought again. I feel like there are still pockets of people in societies everywhere that still very much share this mentality and this way of thinking that in that time it was circumstantially required. Like, there's a scene where, well, it's not much of a spoiler, but because it is true to the book, and this is more of a factual, fact, yeah, like it's a societal reference anyway. But Mr. Bennett talks about how he and his wife had hoped to had hoped to give to birth a son, so that on in the event of his death, his wife and his girls would all be taken care of by his son, who would be entailed the estate, instead of what happens in the movie, well, in the story, which is like he's he's required to entail his estate off to like the closest living male relative, which is like a third or fourth cousin or something, which ends up with a whole like Mr. Collins situation. And yeah, and of course, like, from the mother's perspective, like, I think now growing up 30 years, I mean, that movie, I was so young when I watched it. I think I was like 4 or 5. And apparently, from what I understand, my mom told me that, like, I would ask her to watch it again and again. And I don't even remember, okay, because my conscious memories of life kind of really only truly begin at like 6 or 7. 6, 7. Yeah. 6 or 7 is like one of is it's yeah, where it was at. And I think also like it's fat. Yeah, I mean, without going too much into detail, like, I am the eldest of 3 daughters, and I think I relate a lot to. I mean, given my parents don't have the same circumstantial pressures and limitations and restrictions that Mr. Bennett, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett had in that era, and the Regency era. But it's very interesting, you know, because knowing that and having that context where, like, and now I understand a lot of it, I'm like, yeah, this story is about so much more than just a romance. And like, I was watching, you know, I was recommended after I finished the entire what's it called? I have cat hair in my mouth. I apologize. After I finished the entire 5 episodes on YouTube, because it was uploaded onto YouTube, I then, what did I do? I was recommended like some video essays about it, of course. And there was one that talked about like how Mr. Darcy didn't actually change. He didn't change fundamentally. He just changed his direction and his vision. I think he expanded his vision to really inc- include or think about people from other classes in a different way, you know, in and also to think about his position of power and privilege, because like that's ultimately where he's sitting. It's power, privilege, and capital, right? He has these resources at his, like, think about it. Like, it took this man, like, if it was not for this man, Wickham and Lydia would have just been a regular elopement that happens to many women, right? She's like essentially hoodwinked for sex, and she would have just been discarded after she was like 21. Probably she was 15 at the time, okay, and he's like in his early 20s, I suppose. So yeah, it would have just been a fling, and like every member of a family by association and connection to this affair would have been impacted by like her choices to degrade herself in this way, where she was just too young to comprehend how this man was just using her. And now she gets to have that protection of like, okay, well, now he has to answer to someone, and now he has to legally do her right, and he can't just use her and dump her, you know? I mean, he chose her. He was attracted to her. And I mean, at that point, like, he's just a sleaze, okay? He's just an F boy. So like, yeah. Yeah. And I think, to get back to the point about Mr. Darcy being the one who has the resources and the access to the connections and the capital to make this happen, like, that is that is real power. Yeah, that is so fast. I think that's what makes this story so powerful, because like in for like for Jane Austen to be writing about such a strong social theme, and in the Regency era, like she's essentially telling people, like telling women, like it's not enough to just be rich or handsome. Like, is he, or and powerful? Like, is he actually doing something important with the resources he has access to, you know? And what is he doing with that impact and with that influence that he has? Yeah. And I think that's why I also love Colin Firth's portrayal of Darcy a lot. I mean, I actually appreciate, I think I'm okay with Matthew McFadden's, but I feel like, I'm sorry, but I feel like sometimes there were moments where he was just a little bit sheepish around Elizabeth, and I just didn't like that. Like, I understand like the cuteness and the attraction of it, but I didn't feel like that was necessarily, like, that's why it made me feel like Keira Knightley's portrayal of Elizabeth was too high class for who Elizabeth, you know? Like, Elizabeth is meant to challenge and like speak truth to power, not like if it was all, yeah, I it would, there was just something about it. where I just felt like the back and forth, like it just made, there's something in the story where there needs to be a back and forth between the two, where eventually, yes, we see them as equals, but at the start of the story, like in the 1995 version, at the start of the story and throughout, like part, like, and even this up to the scene where she like traipses through the countryside and bumps into Mr. Darcy. That was such a brilliant choice, by the way, to make, and like this, there's sexual tension there. Okay, so everyone thought like you could f off with this whole like rain proposal scene. I'm sorry, but girl, walking through the meadows and bumping into a man who was like amused by you and like so attracted to you, that is, oh, chef's kiss. That is the one. Okay, I'm sorry, but like, sorry to be a hater of the 2005 version and like refusing to watch it or acknowledge it, but I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry, because the 1995 version is infinitely more, I don't know, in canon is what I'm gonna say. And it's what it serves the story, whereas I feel like, yes, there is a story element in the 2005 version, but that one is serving the romance more than the story, in that Jane, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. And yes, the actors themselves, they are brilliant. Like, I mean, the final scene with the father, if out of context, like if I sit there and I'm like, yes, this is out of canon and I'm fine with it. I'm going to treat this as another movie that is not called Pride and Prejudice and accept what has happened in this scene as a parallel universe. If I sit there and think this is, yes, okay, that, like, objectively speaking, the acting is phenomenal. Like the father, the man who played her father, and like that acting was phenomenal. His reaction and his conversation with Lizzie, like there was a closeness and an intimate sort of vulnerability in terms of like emotional connection in that, which I do feel like the 1995 version portrayed differently, which in my opinion sort of limited the actor slightly, or rather they made different choices. But I did feel like the 2005 version, like Mr. Bennett was a lot more emotionally available for Lizzie, and he was very much aware of his position in society, and he decides, yeah, well, without spoiling it too much. And I haven't watched it per se, but I've watched that scene, and I mean it's the ending scene, so yeah, I'm strange that way. I'm sorry. I'm a spoiler junkie, okay? But I watched the scene, well, because I needed to decide whether or not it was worth spending the money to buy or rent this movie to watch. And then after I watched these scenes, I decided it was not worth my money to. I'm sorry, but it was not. Like, if BBC Playback can upload a Valentine's gift for all of us, like, fuck this. Yes, yeah, I've just, yeah, she's lost it. She's like, F, yeah, screw it. Like, yeah, they can F off. I'm sorry, but like, what? Sorry for swearing, but like, they can just F off with the like, capitalist hoarding of content that is not in canon, okay? Anyway, so yeah. Um I want, but objectively speaking, the acting is phenomenal. The cinematography is really like, it brings it to another level. But the story was changed beyond recognition. and it bothers me. I just kept thinking of the script, and it bothers me. Like, if I can sit there and think about the script, I'm not enjoying the movie, and why should I pay to sit in a critical state? You know what I mean? Like, if someone gifted me that movie for free, and I would take it as a sign from the universe to be like, okay, I have to watch and see what I'm gonna learn, because clearly, like, this movie has found me, and it's free. But yeah, I'm not over giving to something I don't believe in, which I think makes me very much like Lizzie. I realize, I sit back, like, I watched it back today, and I realized I have grown to become similar to Lizzie, and quite in this regard, in the sense of, like, there are times when I find out that a man is significantly more powerful than I thought he was, and I didn't know because I was focusing on the conversations that we were having, like, and I was being in the moment. I was assessing his character, you know, and I was like, I don't want to lose myself, you know? Not sure, I mean, not that I have truly ever fully lost myself in another person, or rather in the idea of what another person can do, you know? And I mean, to be fair, like, even like amongst, I think with amongst women, like, it's slightly different because, yeah. Like, I get starstruck by like the most random things. Like, I got starstruck by Megatron at Universal, okay? Because I love what he does and his audience interaction. And I was so starstruck, I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to say when he asked me questions. And then when I walked off, he was like, "Well, that was awkward." And I'm like, "You're right. I am a very awkward person. And why did I do that? Why did I forget to speak? I needed a friend. I needed a wingman for, like, that's kind of who I am. Like, if I meet someone and I'm starstruck, I need someone to be like, she's a huge fan. Can we please take a photo? Like, break the ice, please." So it was awkward, but I'm okay with the awkwardness. And then on the flip side, like, if I feel like a man is like unnecessarily arrogant, or, being just a dick, I will say it to his, I will ask him questions. I will call him out, And I've like really pissed, yeah, I really pissed off um a man a man like last year, and then I thought back about it and I realized he was attracted to me, but money cannot buy my affection in that way, you know. Yeah, he was very much insulted because I didn't I didn't but the reason why I didn't like him was because I felt like his ego was just not tempered. Like, he didn't know how to temper his ego, especially when he lost. Every time he lost, like, because we were like, yeah, we were in this in a gaming environment, right? And we were like on the same team, and like, I just felt like every time he was just such a sore loser. And like, the long term sort of, there was a lack of this like long term planning, like long term vision, because it's like, yeah, you lost a game, but we can win the next one, I mean. And then also he was like, but then he tried to like, yeah, that's the thing, he tried to like flip it back on me. And then I think he got jealous after he realized I was like, flirting with someone else, and then he tried to call me out for it. And then I was like, the way you're calling me out is very personal. Like, he brought in, yeah, he used details from my actual real human life, which had nothing to do with like what we were playing and our team. And I just was like, this is very offensive to me. And I just like was like, no, I'm not. I blocked him, and I was like, not speaking to this person. I was like, who are you? Like, I don't do that about you. I could use so I could talk I could, yeah, I could use like facts and details from our friendship, because I thought we had a friendship. I could use facts and details that you've shared and you've talked about against you, but I'm not going to. And the fact that you did that to me is like, that reflects your character. So it's like, no amount of money is going to change the fact that you're such a sore loser and you have a poor character. You're going to make personal attacks against a woman. For what? You know? And yeah, I mean, it's not just him. There were other people, like, yeah, and it's just like, men. And I think that's why, like, I do feel like a little bit existential, right? There are times when I'm like, yeah, if I had been born a man, things would be very different. I wouldn't have to, like, what's the word for it? I wouldn't have had to, like, learn and understand the language of males to really truly understand what their intentions are towards me. And therefore, and I would have just been able to get on with my career and do my work. Yeah, like, I would be in such a different. And the thing is, I don't want to be a man, you know? Even though I do identify as like a non-binary female, like a person born in a female body who expresses her gender in a non-binary way. Like, I do tend to be very masculine in the way I approach my work. And I pour a lot of my masculine energy into my work. I mean, more so when I was in tech, but definitely still now. Like, there are times when I do feel like, perhaps, sometimes I feel like, yeah, if I had been born male, people would be looking like, I relate to, that's the thing. I also relate to like certain things about Mr. Darcy, like the way he approaches people. Like, he's just really shy, okay? But people call him proud and arrogant because he's quiet and rich. And also, he did say some things that were very condescending towards people who were less fortunate than him at the start of the series. And then he changes his tune when he realizes, like, yeah, he gains an empathy and a respect that through his relationship and his connection with Elizabeth, you know? But I do kind of feel like there are times when I myself am just very shy and quiet in public and in social settings. And I feel like people misinterpret it a lot, especially because I have this face, right? That, from what I understand, from what people tell me, is attractive or pretty or beautiful. And, not saying that I don't appreciate these qualities. Like, I'm very appreciative of the compliments and I'm very grateful. It's just kind of like, sometimes it blows my mind a little bit. Like, my brain cannot rationally comprehend what that means. Like, am I? You know, sometimes I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, I can see I can see like the flaws. I can see things I want to work on, you know? And I don't understand like in what ways am I pretty? You know? And what does that even mean? And then and wow, this is I don't know why I got emotional all of a sudden. But I've just come to accept that I have to like accept what these words mean to me personally and my personal relationship to what beauty and prettiness is, and just accept that, yes, you know, which is so funny. Yeah, what is funny is that I can look at other people and I can think they're pretty, even if they are not conventionally societally accepted as pretty, you know? Like, yeah, and find them attractive for different reasons. Often the times it is their behavior. At this point in my life, it is behavior that attracts or repulses me. And physical beauty, like, I just kind of feel like there's beauty in everything, you know? It depends on where and how you look. Depends where you're looking and how you're looking at it. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. I need to get back to my point. So all that to say that I don't quite comprehend, you know, when people tell me that. And also like I'm sitting there thinking about like other women be like, I think the other day I met a pretty woman. I got really shy because I was like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty and I don't know what I'm gonna say. You know, like when, yeah, so I do kind of feel like I can relate to Mr. Darcy in that sense, where it's like on the inside I'm having like thoughts and opinions, and on the outside people just think he's one of my favorite quotes though. They think he's proud and arrogant. Um, and then, but his housekeeper is the one who says, but it's just because he doesn't go off and run his mouth like the other boys do. And then later on, Elizabeth, like one of my favorite quotes from this 1995 version is she says, like, he has no improper pride, which means that, like, all of the pride that he has been earned. And also, what if it was not earned, it was like proper for his position in life and in society as someone who is a steward. Like, you know, there's this Bible verse that people like to take out of context, and even the Spider-Man film was based on it. I think the whole like, with great power comes great responsibility or something like that. That's the American version. What was the actual Bible verse? To whom more is given, more is expected. And a lot of people forget the context of that was about like a a wealthy owner of an estate leaving his property in the care of a steward, and using that as an analogy for like how as human beings we are on this earth to like be stewards of this natural earth that was created by the source of all living things, you know, and creation. And it's about stewardship. And I kind of do feel like, in at least in the 1995 version that I'm in love with, like in Colin Firth's portrayal and in the script writing, in the direction of it, like the script he was given, you know, because when, I'm sorry, but like the 2005 script, when you're given a script like that, there's only so much you can do with it. Just saying. Just saying. But the 1995 script is better, is infinitely better, and so much more in canon. Just saying. Anyway, at least the dialogue. The dialogue in the 1995 version is so much more quotable as well. Um, and so much more character, like in character. I love Judi Dench, and I think it must have been such a gift for Keira Knightley and Judi Dench to have that scene. However, the original, well, not the original, because there have been so many adaptations of Pride and Prejudice, but I mean, even Laurence Olivier was in an adaptation of it. But my original, my favorite, the 1995 version, that scene between Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and Elizabeth Bennet is one of my all-time favorite fight scenes in all the films I've watched so far. Okay, between two women, especially, it's just the way it's so skillfully done, and like Jennifer L's Lizzie really like not just like holds up the light, like shines it back on this like the corruption, on like the rot that underlies this whole like Lady Catherine's vision for her nephew, I guess, who is like a second or third cousin, I guess, of her daughter. I think, well, whatever. I'm not that deep into the lore at 3 a.m. But it's just the way that she what else? The way that she really like it's not really ding Joy. It's like they're actually having a proper conversation, you know. It's not like she's, well, she is talking back to her elder, but her elder really put her on the spot. So she's like, you know what, I'm done. I'm gonna say this as politely as I can because of your position, but you really need to F off, essentially, is what she's saying. And you need to get out of my life, and you have no power over what I choose to do for my future and my happiness. And like, who are you to tell me? Just because you are a lady, like and like the daughter of an earl, like, you know, it's one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema. And yeah, just that entire scene, the shots following them into the garden, like you'll know when you see it. Okay, the dialogue, even the way they captured the light on their faces, okay, so good. And following the acting, just there is nothing wrong with that scene. The only thing wrong with it was that it was not longer. You know, like it, yeah, anyway, it's just like one of my favorites. Anyway, so far we are equal, but what if your mother's family? Did she say family or relations? And it's like such a fascinating commentary on society and who holds the power, right? Because yes, like, to be historically accurate to the time, and this, like, Lady Catherine is the highest ranking because she is nobility. Mr. Darcy, like, is related to nobility, but he didn't, like, it's because his mother was the one who like married a landed gentry owner who was very rich, I suppose, and he inherits Pemberley, but he's a mister and he's not a lord or an earl or a duke, right? And yet because he is male, he does have more power in terms of being able to take action, do things in his own name, and even like use his name to get things done. Like throw like even yeah, like for example, I think and you draw like it draws a really stark contrast to like even people like Mr. Collins referencing and using Lady Catherine's name to like further his position in society. It's like, yeah, you are a clergyman supported by this patron, but what can she really do for you? Truly. I mean, she did entail her estate to him, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So he does inherit things from her, which is wild to me. But like, you see, I mean, girl, it takes a man in that era. And I kind of feel like, yeah, even in 2026, like there are things that I'm like, well, there are situations where I'm like, yeah, I do need a male to protect me from the other males at some point because like I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of dealing with them by myself. And I'm sure my father is like gets depressed thinking about all the shit I have to put up with because I'm a woman. Not saying that he is, but I do feel like he understands like I mean men know like how unjust things can be, right? And he does I think he does have sort of compassion for my struggles. So I mean I even think of like one of the most recent things in my career that really frustrated me was like I was working with men of color, which is, I thought like at one point, I mean, I still do work with men of color, but there was this one situation where I did work with men of color, and like I thought, I thought that because we were all non-white, things would be different. But then I realized like, hey, I'm like the only female on this like of this tier, like in this standing, like positionality. I'm not being managed by in the same way. Like we, like in to a certain extent there is like one there was like one management relationship, but like the others were like these are my peers, and the other women involved in the team at the time were being managed. And I did feel like, yeah, and then there was like one occasion where I was like, without going into so much details about it, there like one of the guys was like, hey, wait, why does she get this and I don't? Like, aren't we supposed to be peers? And then things happened for him. And then I sat back and I thought about it and I was like, well, hey, I'm actually doing a lot. I'm I'm leading a bigger group. I'm doing I have to think about I'm doing more emotionally without saying it. So why am I not allowed to get what I'm getting? And I thought about it and I was like, if I had been a man, I would have stood my ground more directly and openly. And it wouldn't have been misconstrued or challenged in the same way, because it would have just been seen as factual as opposed to emotional and irrational. To the point where I just felt like, yeah, to the point where like I do start feeling emotionally unregulated and irrational because you're not listening to me and you're gaslighting me. You know? Like, and it wasn't just one person. I've noticed this in general, and I do feel like that's why at this age of my life, in this era of my life, I'm just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't give two F's. I don't care. I don't really care anymore, like, who this man is, who his father is, what he owns, or what is he doing with what he owns? What is he doing with his position in life? Where is he going, and what is he directing his energy into? Like, those are the things I consider attractive. It's like behavior and action, you know? And so it's fascinating to me because as an actor now, like, yeah, I'm surrounded by a lot of very beautiful men, and I start to see their flaws in character. And it was so funny the other day. I caught myself like, we were reflecting on something that happened, and I was like, he's just a princess. He has pretty privilege, and he doesn't even know, because we don't call men out on their pretty privilege, do we? I mean, because pretty privilege was a word created to demean women, but attractive, handsome men get away with murder, and women will still fangirl over him. It has actually happened, has it not? Even more so if he's rich and powerful. If he's handsome, rich, and powerful, girl, you're done. We are just like, well, whatever, Like, men have such serious pretty privilege. As attractive men. Have you ever, like, and okay, even like the ones who seem very, I mean, I don't know him personally, but he seems very humble and committed to his work, has a strong work ethic, right? Even like someone like Michael B. Jordan, who apparently from what people say about him is like really good to work with. It's like a gentleman. Like, when he walks into a room, like, women change around him, and men respect, like, men treat him with the respect he deserves. I mean, rightfully so. But like, if he was a woman, just saying, if he was a black woman, would he be treated the same way? With like the same, if he was like still as attractive, especially, yeah, if he was beautiful, like a beautiful black woman, I don't know if he would be so respected and almost venerated and still be considered attractive. Like, I think the attraction, yeah, like, and not really, no, not so much considered attractive, but still be treated the way he's treated because women are attracted to him. And I've seen it in real life, okay? Like, I thought about it, and well, I don't want to get too much into my personal life, but this is about acting, is about life, and life is about acting. But I thought, like, the last man that I was genuinely attracted to, like, 2 years ago, very handsome man in many people's opinion, and he was an athlete previously. I think he was an American footballer for a time. But just like the way that women, every girl spoke to this man, I thought it was, I only realized 3 or 4 weeks into knowing him. And I think, well, I only knew him, we were in the same, like, sort of group or team for like 5 or 6 weeks. I don't even remember. But yeah, I only started realizing 3 or 4 weeks into knowing him because prior to that, I just sort of treated him as like a teammate. I just, that I was attracted to, yes, and I found him very attractive, but I treated him like a regular man, you know, like a man. I mean, I treat all men like men, like a human being. And then I realized there were so many women who would behave so differently around him. Women who, and some of these women were really rude to me, but they would be so nice to him. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why? And he has like the male equivalent of pretty privilege. Does he not? Like, and I don't know what the word is, because we don't use we don't form these concepts to hold men accountable and talk about our jealousy and envy of them in the same way we do women. And I think because of misogyny. Like, if pretty privilege was truly something that people wanted to address and do something about, it would be a gender neutral term that talks about how attractive people do, objectively speaking, have more access to resources in a way that people that are not necessarily considered conventionally attractive just don't have the same access to. And the distinction, in my opinion, is like between females and males. Like, oftentimes, here's when people get jealous. It's because they see these women as women, like why does she get access to male attention instead of me? But the real question is, who holds the power? Who is the gatekeeper here? Okay, she's not the gatekeeper. It's just because she's attractive to the gatekeepers that she's getting hate. But if you really want to do something about it, who holds the power? Talk to them. The gatekeepers are the problem. Why are they gatekeeping? Right? That's the real issue. That's the real problem. Okay? So, I'm like, if you take, like, with all of this context, like, what is pretty privilege anyway? Huh? Like, is it not just a term that crabs in a bucket use to demean other women and pull them down? Because why should she have access? Why should the gatekeeper let her in and not me? Isn't that, like, if you truly wanted to address, like, and I say this because I am someone who wants to talk about the reality of actually structurally changing this, like, because it's what I practice in real life. Like, I'm only talking about it because that's how I treat men, and I mean, and women. And with women, it's like easier for me because they start to, like, especially like, because they see what I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, we've had periods, we know. Or even for women who don't have regular periods, like, we have ovaries, we have the same hormones in our bodies. Okay, same types of hormones anyway, not the exact same, but the same types of hormones. We understand what we're talking about. But like, with males especially, like, the more good looking he is, the more I'm like not impressed until, like, I see a character sort of a character that reflects his outward appearance. You know what I mean? Like, I am one of those people who genuinely believes your inner beauty manifests on the outside. And I think that's why, like, I feel like I can find the beauty in everything, because even for people who are, like, considered paraplegic, like, there is a, like, some of them are so, like, so beautiful in ways that, and many of them are just, anyway, I'm gonna get emotional now, like, just thinking about some of these examples. Not that I know all of them, but there's still an element of beauty to it that is moving. Okay. Yeah. And I think what's also fascinating to me is like, I think because of the fact that I behave like this, like there have been people within the upper classes who like make fun of me or talk behind my back, kind of like rude to me as well. I'm just like, I really genuinely do not care about this negative behavior. Like, if a man is not behaving, I will call him out. Okay? Like, I'm sorry to like have made you feel so uncomfortable with your complacency. But that's not my fault that you are complacent, is it? Just saying. Just saying. The spice is spicing today. There is a mala tang going on. There's peppercorns in here. Okay, yeah. And I think to wrap this all up and really get into the meat of things, I have been feeling very existential. I feel like I'm staring down an abyss, you know. And I don't think, I know I'm not the only one going through this, but I do feel like, I think as an actor we are a lot more honest about the reality and the nature of our work and life. Because even, and I mean, yeah, a lot of the problems that people think are like, oh, actor problems, I'm like, well, I did face similar things in tech, just not like this. But they're not dissimilar. They're not entirely mutually exclusive and entirely different. They're still, there's a human root to them. Especially like with all of these companies doing layoffs and everything, like, yeah, your future is not certain just because you have an engineering degree. Okay? You're not set for life. It's not how it works. It's just that actors are a lot more honest about the nature of work being like not guaranteed, you know. And I made up my mind, no need to think it over. If I'm wrong, I am right. No need to look no further. This ain't lost. I know this is love. If I tell the world, it wouldn't be enough, 'cause it was not said to you. And that's exactly what I need to do. If I am in love with you, should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements? Even if it leads nowhere, would it be a waste? Even if I knew my place, should I leave it there? Should I give up, or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? Or would it be a waste, even if I knew my place? Should I leave it there? Should I give up, or should I just keep on Chasing pavements. Ah. Fly around in circles, thinking as my heart drops and my back begins to tingle. Finally, could this be it? This song has really been stuck in my head. Chasing Pavements by Adele. I had it on repeat for like 3 hours the other day, just washing the dishes, doing the work at home. And what is so funny to me is like, I was like, why? What is it about this song? And I was meditating today and I realized this is how I feel about my career right now. I think that's all I really need to say. Should I give up or should I just keep chasing pavements? Even if it leads nowhere. And I love it. I love what I do, of course. And even the line about like, if I tell the world, it wouldn't be enough if it was not said to you. And that's exactly what I need to do. Like, I feel that about my acting. It's like, it doesn't matter if I talk about it to people. Like, it's not the same as doing it, you know? Everything else is tangential at this point. And my mom and I were talking, as we do, like, in another way that relates to Pride and Prejudice. Of course, we were talking about like marriage prospects and things, and then she was like, why don't you explore China? Why don't you go to China? There's a big and growing budding movie industry there, and I really love a lot of the Chinese content that I watch, and I'm a huge consumer of it, and I'm a huge fan of the industry's growth. And at the same time, I do kind of feel like, is that a cop-out? Like, God didn't make English my first language for no reason. And I can't help it if he also made me a lover of literature and to the point where like white people will be like, there was this one time this white guy caught like really, he told me, Diana, your English is really good. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, like your comprehension, like your literature, like your appreciation for the literature and the work and the script and your analysis of the text, your English, like your English is so good, like objectively speaking. And I was like, okay. At first I was like, okay, I think because, and I had to be like, oh, okay, because like a part of me was like, I know that out of context, this sounds racist, but in context, like I'm like thinking about the emails I write. And when I do write emails, the the formality with which I hold conversations and like the way I talk in day-to-day life, yeah, I am a literature nerd, I suppose. And English literature is always one of my best subjects at school. That and physics or math. Yeah, I was really good at math and literature. They were always like my highest scoring subjects. So like now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it, I'm like, oh, actually he's talking about like my knowledge of the language is, I'm like, in terms of like a literacy. He's talking about my level of literacy. being abnormally high for an actor, I suppose. I mean, but that being said, like as someone who grew up respecting Ian McKellen and Laurence Olivier, like, and trained in English theater, like in the British style, in any case, like as a Commonwealth citizen, like I kind of took it for granted, and I think I I underestimated. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that. Yeah, I didn't realize that my English had become as good as, I guess, this person, like this, he, because he is a coach and a teacher of mine. So like, yeah, I didn't realize my English was that good, I suppose, like as a native speaker. Because yeah, like even amongst, like, because in my brain I have like American English and British English and vocabulary for all of it, and like the nuances and the, even the prosody, and beyond, and like within American and British English there's like all these various dialects and accents, and like even if I don't have the confidence to replicate a lot of them, I still understand what they're saying. And oftentimes, like, even like, I think, in my opinion, one of the, now that I'm thinking about it, like one of the reasons why I know I have good English is because even if a person who doesn't speak English as a first language tries to speak to me with English that is considered quote unquote broken, like I still get what they're saying because I know what they're trying to say. I know what the root words they're trying to go for are. I know what the subtext and the meaning of the words they're going for is. And I think you can't say you're actually that good at a language without knowing the roots of the language. But I also think that maybe because it's like I'm a budding polyglot, and I'm a like I like, it's one of my hobbies to understand languages and cultures. So like from a linguistic perspective, even though I'm not like a, like I'm definitely an amateur amateur, depending how you want to pronounce it. I like the pronunciation amateur, and I feel like the way I speak is like a mix of all of the ways I like pronouncing things from all the various accents that I've heard at this point in my life, and I've decided to go with it. You know, I'm subconsciously doing it, so I might as well consciously acknowledge it, right? That like I like saying a word in that way, and I'm going to say it in that way naturally when I'm not being paid to embody a character that has a specific accent. Like Diana's natural voice is going to be a collection of all of these sounds that mean things that she likes. Yeah, and I'm okay with that, you know? Yeah. Especially as someone who was bullied in boarding school for not having a standard received pronunciation, mind you, by a non-white person, which was wild to me. Um, but that being said, the white people also did make fun of my accents, so who gives a F anyway? Like, it's not that deep, guys. It just reflects to me your insecurity with your accent because you're projecting that onto me. Now that I think about it, almost a decade and more than a decade later. Okay. Do I need to wrap any of those thoughts up, Vivi? Should we just go to bed? She's like she's like giving up waiting for me. She did this little girl is such a good timekeeper. I love her. She's so good at routines, okay? She keeps me on track. You know, we co-regulate. She is my emotional support animal. which is strange. I mean, of course, I am the primary caretaker in this relationship, but it's a symbiotic relationship. It's reciprocal, you know. And I think with cats, I think that's why I love cats. It's always a reciprocal relationship. Like, and dogs are just more high maintenance in my opinion. Like, you have to take them. I mean, yeah, which is crazy because today I heard the opposite, but also that was coming from a man. So it's a learning curve for you, bruh. You made your choice. And I say that very like tongue in cheek, like you chose. Um anyway, I chose her and she chose me. I also like I feel like she found me, you know? And without going too much into that story today, we'll come back to another day, but I really love the fact that I mean, maybe because I also did all the research, I'm like over prepared. Now that I think about it, I was over prepared for this, and I am very prepared. I like have a little castle. I've really integrated her life into my life, you know, and we're matching all the time. um, but yeah. Oh, she's like, I heard you talking about me. Look at that. She's like, go to sleep, right? It is time to sleep. She's like, it's time to go back to sleep now. And don't ask me how I know that. I just know it. Okay? It's a gut feeling. Um, yeah. And now she's like, yep, you heard me. I'm going back to bed. um, yeah. She's really reaffirmed my gut intuition a lot, you know. Yeah. Found me in this time of my life that I needed to really listen to my intuition and respect it, or continue to build the respect that I need for it. Yeah. And I do feel like every day I wake up and I recommit to being an actor. And right now, in the summer, I am working on the business of my acting. Yeah. And it's very daunting because once I graduate from the conservatory program, like, we have an OPT and nothing's guaranteed. Okay. Yeah. I just know I want to keep acting. And so far, Los Angeles has really been the place for me to have the yuanfen that I need, like the alignment in the relationships that I'm building with people and the people that I've met. Like, as an artist, somehow being in this city and being in this place and this with these people, like, I feel seen, you know, as an artist. And I love living here. Okay, yeah. I mean, I do. I think once I get a car, it's it's on. It's like game over. I'm fully integrated into this into this city. Okay. You'd think because she has a cat, she's like, oh, committed. It's a long-term commitment. But cats can travel, okay? But but what yeah. That once I learn how to drive on the American side of the road, we shall be we shall be off to the races, as they say, so to speak. Yep. I feel like, yeah, all this, I don't know, the weather, the produce is good. Like, LA is growing on me. And I was skeptical and hesitant at first because of the image of this city, being the one that you would see on like an MTV music video, or like you hear about and you watch in movies and stories. But like, that's all lore, okay? Like, that's just lore and marketing and drama, and also there is an element of truth to it. But I thought about it and I was like, actually, logistically speaking, I can hear myself think I'm growing a lot. And this, I feel like I feel more nurtured here than I did in London. I feel like there's space to breathe. I feel like I can hear myself think, whereas I don't feel like that in New York. I feel like living in New York is just stressful. Visiting there and being there for a season or for seasonal work, that's different. But like, to spend a whole calendar year in that city, I think I would be so depressed, because I think, especially because I'm already like so high strong. Am I? Yeah, so high strong and so like intellectual, that I kind of like, I feel there's this element of pedigree in that city that I don't appreciate dealing with, because I had to. Maybe it's because because of like past trauma in London or something. Maybe because I had to navigate that when I was in London and I got fed up. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done with all of this pedigree worshipping fluff. Fluff. And whereas in LA, it's kind of like, well, can she act? You know, that's what I care about. Like, I just want to watch a film, guys. I just want to watch a story, guys. Just tell me the story, Make it good. Yeah, it's like, it doesn't matter if I went to RADA or not, or was in the RSC or not. Like, whereas in London, it matters, right? If you're part of the RSC, you're part of RADA, or you're a graduate of RADA, you're like, or you, even if you didn't go to drama school, like, did you go to Cambridge, like Ian McKellen and Tom Hiddleston? Like, did he go to Cambridge or Oxford? One of the two, okay? Like, I really don't give an F at this point in my career. Not saying that good for them that I'm saying, like, don't get me wrong, like, good for them that they went there, but I don't feel like I want to live my life like that anymore. I'm so fed up. And I also kind of feel like in San Francisco, there is that element of that with the tech bro Kool-Aid. And I just don't, I'm staying away from the Kool-Aid as far as I can, because Silicon Roundabout was already enough for me, okay? Like, I don't need the American version of this Kool-Aid drama nonsense. They're so dramatic, okay? So dramatic and so unnecessarily, like, it's all marketing. The cult-like marketing of it all. Like, I just don't need it. And when you see it, you see it. You get what I'm saying. But I'm not going to explain it today because I need to go back to sleep. And I think rewatching Pride and Prejudice and finishing my rewatch of Pride and Prejudice today gave me the motivation I was looking for to just take the next step on this pavement that I'm chasing. And maybe I don't need to chase it anymore. Maybe I should just walk. Walk.
normally. Although I have been walking for like ever, and I had to take multiple detours, and I had to avoid a lot of, and I had to like turn around on a lot of dead ends, but we're here. The pavement is still there, and I just got to keep following it. Just take the next step, I guess. Oh yeah, I picked up a script that I started in 2021, and like 30 pages more came to me, I guess. It's crazy because now I look back on the work that I did in 2021, and I was like, it was over intellectual. Like, it was a lot, but at the same time, it was what I needed to do at the time. Like, I had like all of these structures and these ideas and like things I wanted to communicate through each character. And now that I've like taken time to really develop and my time and my not my time yeah my time develop it and give space to myself as an actor, like I really have grown a lot as an actor in the sense of like just confidence and grounding myself and putting in the structures and the routines to support my work. And it's really opened my eyes to like the world, even the way I'm like now, like rewatching Pride and Prejudice and realizing this story is so powerful because Elizabeth essentially falls in love with Darcy after he shows her that he's using his power wisely, right? He's a good steward, and that's what she's looking for. And what's funny is that in that society and in that context, like being a steward is like another name for a kind of servant, but stewardship as a concept is essentially what Mr. Darcy embodies because he inherited his property and he's a steward of it. He's managing it and he's paying his employees, who in that day and age were called servants. Um, and he's managing the income and all of that. He's a good steward. And she's looking for a man who can be responsible with the resources he has access to. Because she's not just looking for the resources, right? She is looking for a sustainable, sorry to be so blunt about the transactional nature of it, but ultimately, that's kind of like, maybe we can wrap up on that point. Like, in that day and age, like, I mean, now, not even that, like, in 2026, like, women didn't even really get to vote or have a bank account until what, the last 100 years, or have a line of credit. Like, that wasn't in her like, husband or father's or brother's name. Like, girl, that, like, that is power, okay? And that is like and when abused it becomes a form of control, right? And so she's looking for a man who uses his power responsibly, not just someone who has access to it, because it's about his character that she, is, and she's a partner to him, like a true partner to him, right? Anyway, and I kind of feel like in 2026, like, yeah, now as a woman, like, we have access to a lot of these things, and sure, like the things that we still are facing, a lot of these are societal, social. Like, for example, some of the behaviors that I've had, like the same man who has pretty privilege and is a princess does worse things and gets away with it, so why can't I, huh? Why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just be? Not that I'm doing, yeah, like, and some of these behaviors are not even that bad. They're not even bad. They're just like audacious, you know? Yeah. They're just like unapologetically
assertive of myself. And I'm not bending over backwards for this man just because he's a pretty princess, okay? And from now on, I have decided that I'm going to use the word pretty privilege exclusively on males. Uh-huh. Yeah, you heard me. It's going to be an exclusively male used term. Like, he's pretty and he is pretty. But he's pretty and he's a princess. He's entitled. That's what I'm saying, right? So entitled and so privileged. But I'm just gonna use it on men because I'm done with people using this to break women down we don't need that. We really don't. Like, sure, if you want me to be conscious of how I'm using my power and then say that. But from what I'm hearing, it really just does sound like you want the gatekeepers to let you in instead. And to that I say, go ahead. I don't yeah, I may eat my words in the future, but they'll be delicious. Like, let them. Like, go. You can like, if we're queuing in for something and you're like upset that this someone wants to let me in first, I'll take you with me. Like, or you can go first. Okay? Like, I don't have to get into the club right now. I can come back another day. I can go somewhere else. Like, I really like, it's not that deep, you know? But like, don't hate on me, hate on the man with the power to make the choice. Who is the decision maker here? Huh? And that is, I think, to circle back and wrap it all up with a little bow, like, that is the thing that I think women at this in 2026, like, this is like the barrier that we have, is because, like, there are so many social, like, there's this trending, well, comment type thing, well, there's this trending sentence now on the internet, or saying, about like how, like, a man is like, oh, but I can protect you. And then the woman's like, well, who are you protecting me from? It's other men. And we don't live in a fantasy utopia spa land where I'm just surrounded by women, you know. I can't go back to all girls school. You know, I don't have an all girls life. So I've come to accept the reality of it. Because it's not that I want to play the game, so to speak, but sometimes the game has to be acknowledged. Like, the chessboard has to be acknowledged. The stage has already been set before me. And the actor can only figure out where he's going to stand. She is going to stand. And what she's going to do with the script she's been given. That's very much life. You can only take the next step and take the next breath, even before you take these steps. All right. Bye.